Hello and welcome to TES Live. My name's Sarah Canane and I'm delighted to be joined in the studio today by Henry Dimbleby and John Vincent. Hello.
Hello,
Hello.
good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello. Henry and John founded the Lyon restaurant chain, and last year the pair were asked by the government to produce a school food plan as part of a push to improve school meals throughout the country. And more recently, they have launched Cook 5, a competition aimed at getting children cooking. If you have any questions for Henry and John during the chat, you can get in touch through Twitter using the hashtag TESLive, or you can email us at webchat@tes.co.uk. So just to kick things off, could you explain the idea behind Cook 5 and what the competition element involves, please?
Yeah, so Cook 5 is, at the moment in this country, 60% of children leave home unable to cook for themselves. And Cook 5, it's not just a competition, it's a campaign. It's like Save the Children. It's going to carry on going until we have every child in this country able to cook at least 5 savoury dishes before they leave home. This year, the competition for that, there are a number of elements. We've got a website, www.cook5.co.uk.
Because you have to say www. Because
otherwise people wouldn't know
yeah,
it was
it's a website. Yeah. There you go.
Cook 5.
https://
So it's cook5.co.uk.
Okay.
And children can sign up and they cook 5 savoury dishes. There are different age groups. There are some suggestion recipes, but we'd love them to cook anything they want to. We'd like to post their mistakes, because part of being able to cook is about being happy to make mistakes. You make mistakes, that's how you learn. And at the end of this year, the school that has the most children from that school who've signed up will get £5,000 towards their cooking lessons in that school. And there'll be an individual who will get, a child who will get £5,000 at the end of the year. And every month, the recipes with the most likes, there'll be cash prizes, Lyon cookbooks. So there'll be a whole number of things incenting people to get involved, get cooking, be able to cook 5.
Fantastic. And who exactly is Cook 5 aimed at? Because we've had an email in from Lucy Bolsover, who's worried that Cook 5 is demeaning the work being done in food technology lessons. So just to clarify, this isn't designed to replace or challenge the current food technology curriculum, is it?
Definitely not. So we've been to over 50 schools as part of the school food work, and there are some amazing cookery teachers out there doing much more than teaching children how to cook 5 dishes, how to cook 20 dishes. There are incredible things going on. This is about making sure that just the base, that children across the country at a minimum are able to cook 5, because at the moment 60% aren't. So there are undeniably cooks doing much more ambitious things in schools at the moment.
Okay. And how much help are the children allowed to have while they're cooking? That was something I was wondering, because I've obviously seen a few of the pictures of the kids with their creations. Are they allowed to have adult, I guess, interference would be the right word?
I think the important thing is that at the end of it, they are able to cook them. So I think that we all need help. We all need help, especially in Blue Peter with the scissors and the sticky back plastic, and time to help an adult, time to ask an adult. But the dishes are designed to be able to be done without adult supervision. Of course, there are going to be times when knives become involved, and if it's the first time that you've used a knife, you probably need to be demonstrated how to keep the little bit in the ends of your fingers out the way so they don't become part of the dish. However, they have been, I think, age appropriate, to use a hyphenated word. They are intended to be age appropriate, and I guess to be coached is fine. But as long as at the end of the day they can do it themselves, the mistakes as well as the successes, I think that's what's important.
Okay. And what is the plan for Cook 5 beyond the span of the competitions? You said you sort of hope that it takes on a life of its own almost.
So we've got a goal for this year of getting 100,000 children to log on and to cook. Obviously 60% of the children in this country is a lot more than that. So next year, we want to focus on schools, getting the word out to schools, getting schools involved, because we think that's getting teachers to encourage children at home to get involved is one of the best ways of getting lots of children. Next year we're going to look at how far we've got, and then we'll focus the emphasis on another way of attracting children into doing it. So we're not going to stop until we've got everyone cooking. This year we're focusing on schools. There's also a competition in the Times which if you go to the Cook 5 website, so Raymond Blanc and Giles Corrin are judging a competition at the Times supporting this, so that might be something you want to get involved in. That's for this year. Next year we'll kick on and take it from 100,000 to many more.
And I think it's important that there are lots of organisations that have already expressed an interest in being involved. So not in addition to individual teachers, there's an initiative in Liverpool, for example, called Can Cook, with a guy called Robbie Davison, and he very much wants to make that part of what he is doing, as well as a lot of food technology and food teachers have expressed a desire to do that. We're hoping, of course, that it will be much more broad once the cooking is part of the curriculum from September 2014. We hope that it will take on a whole life of its own, which will be supported by schools. But actually, we conceived Cook 5 before we even got involved with school food directly. This was something we were going to do absolutely anyway, because we feel that it's, it happens to be that the curriculum thing massively happens to help the cause, but we think that schools might, I guess, benefit from this added support, this added, I guess, outside school initiative that they can actually bring into schools. But not just schools, if people are watching and they happen to run Cubs or Girl Guides, that's another way of doing it for your triangular cooking badge. So we're hoping that it supports schools, but also all sorts of outside school groups as well.
I guess it's probably worth explaining for those who don't know. One of the things we didn't know was going to happen when we started Cook 5 was that the government has accepted our recommendations on cookery in the curriculum. So the design and technology curriculum that was published a couple of weeks ago has creating a love of cooking, cooking savoury dishes, learning basic cooking techniques now as a mandatory part of the curriculum, an entitlement for all children in key stages 1 to 3, which is a massive change from what was before, which is great news. So hopefully a lot more of this is going to be happening in schools as well as of September 2014.
With regards to the competition itself, Penny Lee asked how schools can ensure suitable provision in order to take part in Cook 5. She's particularly worried that the competition favours those schools who already have the equipment and the support to deliver such sort of lessons or after-school clubs.
So the Cook 5 competition originally was designed to be something that children did at home with their parents. So it'd be great to do it in the class. That's one way of doing it. But if you look at secondary schools, almost all secondary schools have teaching kitchens. Primary schools, only about 25% do. And in those schools, separately, by the way, we're going to be looking at giving advice on great curriculums that primary schools without teaching kitchens can do. But those schools will have to work more with parents, look at things that people can do as homework, and bringing in the recipes they cooked over the weekend, and do it that way through the home rather than in the school.
Okay. And how does Cook 5 feed into the wider work you're doing on food education and school meals?
I think that it's important that we don't confuse the two. We have a very specific hat, which is advising the government and developing a plan, which we will be finishing around May, June. And that's very grown up. It's a very big responsibility. And we in terms of Mr. Ben, we put on our government advisors' hats on for that purpose. I think for Cook 5, we're taking that hat off. We're putting maybe a hat that's not quite as bowler shaped, and we're probably don't know where this metaphor's going. But anyway, the point is that the hat that we're wearing in Cook 5 is really the Leon hat, and it is basically it's time to have fun. We of course we need to do it with a sense of responsibility, but we're certainly not representing the government in any way with Cook 5. What we're doing here is something for everybody, inside school, outside school, all sorts of other areas, to actually have fun with cooking. And they say, Henry alluded to mistakes earlier. There is a phrase which is an expert. It's a Nobel Prize winner said this, so it must be true. Danish guy. He said, I can't remember his name.
Niels Bohr.
Yeah, he said that an expert is as someone who's made every mistake possible within a narrow field. And I think that's encouraging to hear that mistakes are necessary, and not very, very bad mistakes, but good mistakes are necessary, and that's how you build expertise. And I think with food, when you look at a recipe, sometimes it can put you in fear. And if you are a non-cook, you can be very scared about the journey to being a cook, and it's a very binary thing, non-cook to cook. And the journey to being a cook in one's own mind, having the knowledge, skills, desire, and confidence as a cook, requires mistakes. It requires me to go, oh my goodness, I won't do that again, or at least I won't do that again in a hurry. Some mistakes are good. That's some dishes are created through mistakes. But
and actually, most dishes, even if you make mistakes, still taste good at the end. They just often don't look as good.
You have to scrape off the flat bit sometimes.
But the mistake thing is important. My first job was as a chef, and people, as John said, who haven't been cooks, get very frightened. All of the chefs who are friends of mine not only have burnt more pans than most people have cooked hot dinners and continue, but they continue to do so. And it's that I think there's a great thing in food culture in this country, all the TV, and we're engaging more in food, and we're having more fun with food, and realising it's a great social as well as health benefit, but people can get frightened by that. They see all that perfect stuff.
Also, I have to tell you, when I did a film for the Leon website, we had fake sunshine coming in from the outdoors because it was too dark in my kitchen. So the sun does shine on TV, and it's not like people on TV have better lives. There are big lights that come and shine inside your kitchen. And the second thing is, 50 times you have to drop the parsley onto the thing, and they say, where are you going to drop it? Point to where you're going to drop it. So it doesn't. The fact that in real life it doesn't look like on the telly, that's nothing to be ashamed of. It's not going to look like on the telly, and that's not a bad thing because that's real life. So sometimes I think we should just make it look a bit more like real life. Yeah.
Well, if I could ask you to take off your fun Leon hats for a moment, lovely there they are, and put on your government advisor hats, because I'm sure you can appreciate, given our audience, we've had quite a few questions in about your school food plan. We've had a question in from Sue Gilding. Hello, Sue.
Hello, Sue.
She says she's in favour of kids learning cookery skills, but she's worried about whether the focus on food education will be a long-term one. Do you think the sort of work you're doing would be able to survive a change in government?
Yeah, so we've been really, one of the things we've been really, I guess, has been important to us is to make this not a coalition initiative. And so two people in particular that we have been very close to in this is, one is called Sharon Hodgson, who is the Labour chair of the all-party parliamentary group for food in schools. And so it's been very important to us that Sharon has been an important supporter, and we have been very close to her throughout this process. Another is Stephen Twigg, who is your listeners, or readers, listeners, watchers, viewers, people at the end of that stuff there, is the Shadow Secretary of State for Education. And we have been working with Stephen to make sure that all of this is future-proof. Now, we can't guarantee that Stephen will be the ultimate, if Labour do get in, we can't guarantee, but I certainly think that it might be Ed Balls again, it might be someone else, but the fact is it's been very important for us to make it future-proof politically. But also separate to that, irrespective of who forms the next government, what we want to do is to make sure that it gathers enough momentum from teachers so that the choice of government in future becomes less relevant. So we want this to gather so much momentum in schools, and we know that 95% of parents want this as well. So we hope that with that momentum with parents, with the momentum in the schools, as well as the future proofing in terms of the party politics, there's some of the things that we are attempting to do. And if people have other ideas how to make this future proof and ongoing, then we'd like to hear those as well as part of this.
And how can they get in touch if they do have
so
ideas
if you Google school food plan, you'll find our website on the Department for Education's website. There's everything that we're doing at the moment, plus how to get in touch. And it's probably worthwhile saying that plan covers both trying to make more children eat good food while at school, so school dinners, school meals, but also the role of food and growing and cooking more broadly in a school, in the curriculum. So it covers both those things. So the announcement on the curriculum was just a small part of the overall work.
We had to bring that forward because obviously the whole curriculum was being defined now.
Yes,
so that's why one of the reasons we had to bring
and
that
we'd
forward.
particularly like to hear from, at the moment, on the curriculum thing, secondary schools who don't have teaching kitchens. So there was a survey done in 2008 which showed that 159 of the 3,500 secondary schools didn't have teaching kitchens. Design and Technology Association think it is now fewer than that, but we'd like to hear from those schools so we can put together a plan before September 2014 to make sure they've got the kitchens to be able to deliver on the curriculum.
Okay. Bridget Spark also has a few reservations about the long-term effectiveness of the school food plan. Obviously, yours is not the first review. There have been several high-profile chefs getting involved, obviously most notoriously Jamie Oliver. they've produced reviews of your own. What makes your review different?
What review did Jamie Oliver do? What review did Jamie Oliver do?
He did.
Sorry to put you on the spot. No, sorry.
I'm
Sorry, Can't you ask me the capital of Paraguay? The price of milk. I know the price of milk. Ask me that one. So, okay, sorry. So I think the first point to make is that we think that what we're doing here is very different. Let me try and explain why. Which is what Jamie did was bang a very loud drum very successfully. He did it through television, and then he went into Greenwich to attempt to do pilots as well. One of the things which Jamie acknowledges, and we acknowledge we're working with Jamie very well on, is we are approaching it on a very systemic basis to understand, we're almost climbing inside the machine. So if Jamie is the conscience, of food, banging the drum, shouting loudly about it, we kind of think in the meantime, we've put on our full bodysuits and we've actually stepped inside the whole system to try and understand the nuts and bolts of everything, how it works, the economics, the incentives, the metrics, the processes, the cultures, what kids really want. And I think what you'll see when we publish the final plan is it will have a number of characteristics. The first is it will be very action focused. There was no plan before for school food. No one could give us something that says, here's the plan for school food. So there will be a plan where there wasn't a plan. The second thing is there was no vision. So no one could point us to anything that said, from a kid's perspective, from an 8 a.m. or 9 a.m. to a 5 p.m., what is the day like for a child with food in schools? Does the chef teach in biology or not? Do we grow strawberries that we then eat at lunchtime? How do we get take-up in schools in terms of the social aspects, the environment, the food, the price, the brand? There is no vision from the eyes of a kid. And I think by bringing together all of the people who have been fragmented, so maybe it might be LACER or School Food Trust, or Children's Food Trust now it's called, or School Food Matters or Food for Life, they've been working in parallel to each other. And what we've done is bring all of those people together as one leadership team so that now there is coordination across the plan. And I think that Jamie, absolutely, who's brilliant, actually an amazing guy, I think he would acknowledge that what we have done is bring, I guess, a systematic, system-wide approach to bring all of those people together to hopefully have a 2 to 3 year implementation plan that everyone is signed up to. And I think that's what's different. Go on, you say some more stuff. You're good at this sort of stuff.
You good?
No, I think that's absolutely. I think that's exactly right. And just on the consensus point, because I think that is the single biggest thing we focus on a lot. We're getting to a point now with the plan where we are beginning to polish it up and finalise it. We're going to be spending a lot of time over the next couple of months going around all of the various parties who will need to be involved in implementing it, including the next Labour government if they get in or if they're in opposition, so that they support it. But also teachers' unions, schools, heads' unions, cooks, private catering companies. We're going to be going around all of those people to get their input.
And we already are. We've just come back from a Manchester event yesterday, Leeds event on Valentine's Day, 5 more to go.
And ideally, we will have a point where rather than print something out and give it to the government and say, here's what to do, we would like to, our dream is to stand somewhere with Michael Gove, Jamie Oliver, Stephen Twigg, Sharon Hodgson, the head of the head teachers union, and say, right, here is the plan. This is what it is, and we agree it, rather than throwing something up in the air and waiting to see who, let people take
whether people like it or not.
So that's quite different from the way these things are normally done. So that's
and you can see the other thing is, if you go onto the website, School Food Plan to Google, we've published all the meetings we're having, we've published all of the research that we've been reading, we've been publishing the films and insights as we go, so that it's not a secret. I think I'll have a lot of friends, probably people watching this have a lot of friends who think that the CIA did the World Trade Center and that we're all run by lizards and and the Rothschilds are all snakes.
But I don't have a lot of friends who think that.
Oh, I do. I have a lot of friends like that. A lot of friends, especially on the web. And I think that if you don't know the detail about something, it's human nature to create ghosts and to maybe fear the worst. And so we've been as transparent as we possibly can be, showing on that website, and also talking in places like this about what we're doing, so that people can contribute. And if they think we haven't read a really brilliant piece of research, they should share that research with us. You can go onto the School Food Plan website to see what we've been reading and the meetings we've been having as well.
Okay, so just to clarify, this review is not being run by lizards.
Well, I can neither confirm nor deny.
Barbara Rathmill and Michelle Rogers, they're concerned about funding. What plans do you have around making sure provision is in place for equipping particularly primaries to deliver
So this is
food education?
primaries food education rather than the school food plan for meals in schools. This is specifically about
So on the specific point of the curriculum, it's very different for secondaries and for primaries. For secondary schools, as I said, we'd like to hear from those that don't have kitchens, teaching kitchens. Most do, and will be able to just use those more widely across more of the school day. On the primary schools, about, as I said, 75% don't have teaching kitchens. However, there are lots of primary schools out there that are doing really good work teaching children how to cook without teaching kitchens. And there are all sorts of ways they're doing that, whether it's making bread in a classroom and getting kids to bake it at home, using a ring to make soup, making salads, chopping vegetables.
Salsas.
There are all sorts of ways. And we're going to be providing guidance to those schools. We're going to be publishing the best of those curriculums so that primary schools without teaching kitchens can learn from what's going on elsewhere in the
And there are
country.
two other ways that we found that primary schools can, more examples from Manchester yesterday, where secondary schools open up their kitchens for the local primaries. So, for example, yesterday, two examples of secondaries, one a maintained school, one an academy, where they said we have a responsibility, A, to advertise ourselves, and B, to reach out to the community. So they allow all of the local primaries to come and use their teaching kitchen, both during the school day and after school. So that's another way that people can do it.
And cooking buses as well. So there are quite a number of buses which can teach 40 children to give a lesson to 40 children in the morning.
So as I was walking in here, I was given sent an email by the Kids Cookery School, for example, focus on food. We've got cooking buses. Some are like vans, and some are really big, almost like Arctic type trucks. So it depends on, there's something for everybody really in terms of the cooking buses.
Okay. And Louise Davis, who's the Deputy Chief Executive of the D&T Association.
Hello, Louise. She was actually heavily involved in...
Well, she might say I wasn't involved at all, but anyway,
she was quite closely involved in coming up with the curriculum.
No, but she's concerned.
She's
concerned.
That's okay.
She's concerned.
We're seeing her next week.
So you can talk to her about it. She's concerned that unqualified teachers with very little training are being asked to teach what we've obviously established is a vital subject. How do you think it's going to be possible to ensure there's an adequate supply of well-qualified teachers for secondary?
So we've got until September 2014.
September
2014. And we've got a meeting with Louise, I think next week or the week after, to talk through what training needs to be done, how many additional teachers need to be trained. The good news is that that most schools have someone teaching it already, but just to a much smaller number of children. But as I said, part of the plan, we need to understand how big the gap is and what needs to be done to train those teachers to be able to deliver it.
And she asked the same, but about primary, because obviously secondary it's specialist. When and how are you going to be able to make sure that all primary teachers get some training in teaching practical food work?
Well, that's something
that's
we're going to talk to her about. Exactly.
The ball's in your court.
Yes.
No, we'll work with you. We'll work with you. Yeah. Is that the plumber saying, why is the plumbing still not working? No, I'm joking. No, we're definitely going to work with Louise. So yeah.
Okay. Well, I think that's just about all we've got time for. So.
Really, that was quick.
Yes,
I
told you.
Very quick.
Price of milk.
Okay. What's the capital of Paraguay? I did promise I'd ask this.
Is it Asuncion?
Probably. Thank you very much to Henry and John for taking time out of their very busy schedule to come and talk to us today. This chat will be up online to watch again within 24 hours or so in case you missed any of it. And join us again at 11 a.m. on this Thursday, when we'll be talking to Mallory Blackman ahead of World Book Day. So hopefully see you then. Bye now.